We're here to empower high-income earners to gain back control of your time through financial independence and stop trading your time for money and start letting your money work harder for you.
And hey, if you want to meet other high income earners on their FIRE journey, join our High Income Earners FIRE Facebook group. Every month, we'll have guest speakers and we'll share about what our team is currently working on and allow you to share what you are working on with other high income earners. Welcome, everyone, to today's episode of the High Income Earners FIRE podcast. I'm your host, Eileen Prack, joined by my co-host, Cody Ye. And today, our guest is Brian Luebben, and he is a phenomenal real estate investor, podcast entrepreneur out of Atlanta, Georgia. And while in college, he built his first company, Greek Beats DJ Entertainment, that actually allowed him to graduate debt-free. So we got to get into that a little bit, Brian. Got to understand like what went through, and you probably have some crazy stories to share with us also during that time. And he has a background in sales for a top Fortune 500 company and now runs a successful podcast, The Action Academy. And through his podcast and cash flowing real estate, he's generated enough revenue via remote income sources to earn him financial independence and is actually traveling the world now on a one-year adventure with his girlfriend. So we're super excited to hear your story, Brian, all the way across from Europe. So welcome.
Hola.
No, that's the wrong greeting, right? You got to say the country that you're
¿Cómo
in.
estás? ¿Cómo estás?
No, it is hola. Yeah.
Is it? Okay.
It's Spanish. Hola, ¿cómo estás? Buenas tardes. Yeah.
Muy bien,
or
muy bien.
if it was in Greece, it would have been Yamas. You know, but hi guys, I'm very excited to be on today. Yeah, we have had a task getting this interview up because of my travels, so I'm fully to blame. And yes, Greek Beats was a fun story. I actually haven't talked on a podcast about that one yet, but that's where the entrepreneurial itch got scratched for the first time, and I'm excited to get into it today with you guys.
Yeah, so maybe let us know about your background. I know, for people that doesn't know, you're really young. Right. How old are you, Brian?
27.
So you're 27. Most people are probably still figuring out what they're trying to do, trying to get all the certificate they can get at work and try to climb a corporate ladder. So what makes you so different? Like, what was your journey like?
Well, so I started with a small fortune from my father of 2.5 billion and then just went from there. It was very easy. Just all trust fund. No, what happened was I had a pretty average upbringing, middle class, normal stuff. You go to high school, go to college, no clue what to do in college, got a marketing degree. Graduated, realized marketing wasn't going to make me money. I wanted to take control of my own destiny. So I was one of the people that are few and far between that actually chose to go into sales. And I wanted to. It wasn't my backup. So what I ended up doing was I applied for a bunch of jobs that said you need 2 to 3 years of experience. And I just made them an offer I couldn't refuse, which was I interviewed and I said, look, there are 2 different people that you can hire for this position. You can either hire the vet that's been somewhere else for 10 years and maybe they don't do things the way that you want them to do it and they're not going to unlearn it. Or you can hire the rookie fresh out of college and you can mold me into whatever you want me to be. And then when I'm successful, it's going to look fantastic on you. So if it doesn't work out, you could just fire me. So if you want to start me out as an hourly employee so I could prove myself, go for it. And the VP was so shocked that he was like, I can't say no to that. I literally can't say no. So they hired me as the only intern, sales intern is what they called me for that company.
What were you selling?
What was I selling?
Yeah.
So it was a company called Centos.
No, uniforms. What were you selling?
Like for the company or for, uniforms.
Oh, uniforms. Okay.
Yeah, Centos. So what it was is like for people that are getting dirty in factories or people that are like grease shop, anyone that's tearing or ripping their clothes, like they need something. They need to constantly change clothes. So what we would do is sell a 5-year service to where each week we come and bring new clothes and then wash the dirty ones. And then we do repairs, replacements, all that. So long story short, I made it to the top of the company within 2 years. Oops, the intern thing worked out and I made it to the top 1%. I got everything I ever wanted, won every award that you could win. They tried to promote me 3 times to a VP. And I realized that none of that was what I wanted. And so I planned my escape, which is when I started investing in real estate, got some real estate purchases. And
ask you, sorry, I'm going to cut you off a little bit. Can I ask you, how much can you make as a VP in sales in that company? so that people understand how much are you giving up?
Not much, dude. So here's the kicker, right? So here's the comp. So we're talking high income FI. So now let's talk high income. All right. So as a rep, I was making maybe 210, right? As a rep on the field level.
210K. Okay, not $210. 210,000.
Yeah, 210,000.
Yeah.
Per year, based off of your own efforts.
Per year. Yeah. Yeah. So per quarter. Yeah, it's not per year. And so I was doing that as a field rep without any responsibility of a team under me. So they were trying to promote me to manager. And then as a manager, I'd make even less money being a manager with more responsibility and more Zoom calls. And then the VP maybe makes 300, but it's all in like preferred shares and stock options that are vested after 3 years. So they're on paper making as much as I am. So yeah, maybe they get an extra 100,000 of stock options, but who cares?
And then you have all the organization below you having to report to you and the added responsibility of managing the people beneath you, right?
And their lives are miserable. So my first piece of advice for anybody that's looking to achieve financial independence and to leave that corporate position is this rule, this specific rule. Look two positions ahead of you. Look to your manager and your manager's manager. If you do not want to be your manager's manager, it's time to leave because there's nothing left to work towards. So that's what I did. I looked at my VP. I said, this guy has young kids that he's not even seeing. He's balding. He's getting fat. And he has a miserable existence. So what is $100,000 extra a year like for me if that's going to be my existence? And then that's when I plan to leave.
Is it worth it for you? And it wasn't worth it.
No, I don't think it's worth it for anyone.
Yeah, that's exactly why I left. I look at my partner. He told me you can call me between 4 a.m. to 11 p.m. at night. And I asked him, when do you sleep? He's like, Cody, I don't. So that was the partner. So I'm like,
fun.
Okay, I'm out. I'm out of here. I don't care how much you make. It's not really that much. I think you're making more already than him. But yeah, I think a lot of people don't understand and really have to go through it, especially at a young age. I think listeners are in their 30s, 40s, if not 50s. They're already seen it or they chose not to see it so that they keep living in that dream. That's our slogan when I was working at Honda, living in the dream, right? So if you look and if you're following someone who's not living the lifestyle you want, it's time to reflect and maybe change, right? So sorry, continue.
Absolutely. No, I mean, that's very important because that's one of the key differentiators between people that keep doing this and people that don't. The irony behind it is if you ask anyone that's a top performer, all they're really going to do is complain. They're going to say, just got the new house. Kids got private school, just bought the new BMW, got to pay that. And that's the rat race. That's what keeps you going over and over and over again. So for me, I never did that. So I did have a spending problem in the beginning. I spent a lot of my money, came to the realization that I was worthless at 25 years old, 24 years old. I realized I was worthless, even though I was making six figures. No assets, no nothing. And so then that was the turning point where I said, okay, I need to buy assets. I need to buy real estate. I need to stop spending my money. I need to save my money, invest it so that one day I can exit this and be able to live a life where I do what I want, when I want, with who I want. Mm-hmm. And so I did what's called house hack for the first purchase. And I bought a house hack, 3% down. I lived in one part, rented the other rooms out. It was cash flowing while I was living in there. And then I just kept buying house hacks over and over again. Now I've got 4. So it's not a sexy real estate portfolio, but it gets the freaking job done. Mm-hmm. And what that allowed was a base of financial security and cash flow that came in to where my equity position, my cash flow was good enough so that I could take calculated risks on top of a bedrock of financial foundation, if that makes sense.
So I have a quick question because we kind of skipped over this part a little bit, but I think it's really important to talk about also because while you were in college, you had actually created your own company and you had basically completed and you paid off your entire debt, your student debt and everything like that while you're in college. And oftentimes as people graduate from college, that's one of their biggest expenses is the student debt. And that's what's holding them back to be able to save and to do anything else, think about other investments because they have such a large student debt. How did you start creating your company? And then how did you did you just funnel everything that you're making into your student debt to be able to pay it off? Or how did that kind of happen for you?
So a couple calculated moves there. So first calculated move was I went to a D2 school that was not expensive. So I got accepted to the big colleges like University of Georgia. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia originally. Nice. So I got accepted to the big schools, but I was like, I can't afford to go there. So what I did was I went to the smaller school, University of West Georgia, to where I was like, okay, this is super manageable. And then I was on what's called the Hope Scholarship in Georgia. So that covered a lot of it. And so now that was like 70% of it covered. So then I had 30% of that left. And then plus like room and board and the meal plan, essentially. So at that point, I was going out a lot. So call it networking. And I was going to the bars a lot, and I became the DJ at one of the popular bars over in college. And at that point, I was in Greek life. So then everyone wanted me to DJ their different events and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. This is an opportunity. Let me go buy speakers. Let me figure that out. So I went and bought speakers that were portable, and I bought a whole thing that was portable. And then I had the first time where I had 3 different events that were bidding over me on the same day. And I was like, oh, okay, so the demand's there. I need to hire people. So then I had 2 other people that were underneath me that were doing it as well. And then so now we have 3 people. And so by the time I left, every event at that school was me. Or my company. So that's why I was able to do it. But to your point, though, people graduate with debt, and it's very status quo, isn't it? Because every single person I know, 99%, have student debt, but they also have a massive freaking car payment in a really nice apartment. So, I mean, are they really trying to tackle that debt really hard? Or are they just like, oh, this is normal? Just like a car payment's normal, and
we'll just pay the minimum
apartment. Yeah, that's normal.
Yeah, so they just follow the herd, right? Hey, I want to live the lifestyle now. I want to look cool to my friends, right? That's probably their mentality. If everyone could live that way, I could too. But everyone makes different type of money, right? Yeah. Yeah, and I did that too. I'm guilty, and I woke up from that. I realized that wasn't the correct way to do it, and that's when I started saving 50%. Started saving 50% of my income. And it took me a year, full year, even making that money to ratchet down my lifestyle and save up $25,000 in cash to be able to get that first house hack. And so I did it. And, then after the first one, it took me a year to get the first 25. And then the second one, it took me 6 months. And then the third time I did it in a month. And now I'm trying to be able to get to the point where I could save 25,000 in a week. Haven't been able to do that yet, but that will be a pretty cool podcast.
What is your path to get there?
I have no idea. Build a massive company, keep investing in real estate, keep talking to you fine people. We'll figure it out.
Do you mind sharing some numbers on the 4 house hack you have done? Like kind of how much you buy for? Do you need to do any renovation? And what's the ARV kind of after repair value? And how much cash flow are you getting every month that's supplying your lifestyle right now? Do you mind sharing some of that?
Yeah. So the real estate is the baseline of it. So the real estate's printing out like $4,000 a month net. And then with real estate, it's not like anything, like you can basically write it off. So it's essentially tax-free income when it comes from your rentals if you write it off the correct way. So for my houses, each one of them is kind of in the same ballpark, pretty minimal on repairs. I buy them off the MLS. They're normally in that 300 to 400 range, well, 270 to 400. And now keep in mind, I was buying these like in 2018, like coming up through COVID. So now it's maybe a bit different as we're looking at houses now, because now if I want to buy the same house, like my houses are worth like 4, 5, and 6. So the equity is pretty fun. But I would buy 5-bed, 4-bathroom houses, split level with 2 kitchens. So one up top and then an in-law suite. So that was a pretty niche thing to buy. And then whenever I'm buying them, I make sure that they have separate entrances, stuff like that. And then I rent them out. The top unit, 3-bed, 2-bath. I rent it out as just like a normal rental, what a 3-bed, 2-bath would rent for. And then the bottom downstairs, I rent by the room. So that's what adds the extra cash flow. So each one of those prints out now that they're fully rented about $1,000 a month. Net. But that's not enough to, net, but that's not enough to sustain my lifestyle. Nowhere near. So the main thing that sustains my lifestyle now is I did that. And then I also am renting out my car on Turo. So then that's an extra $1,000 a month because I'm renting that out full time. So that's five.
We heard about a lot of horror stories about Turo.
Yeah.
Have you run into any of those before, or they're just great people? They return your car in one piece.
So here's the honest answer. I can give you the honest answer, or I can give you a podcast answer. I'll give you.
I want an honest answer.
Honest answer. I have no idea. So we talk about passive income all the time, but passive income isn't really passive because I have to fix roofs. I have to fix water heaters. Stuff goes wrong all the time. I had a freaking tree fall in my backyard right before I left to leave the country. So stuff happens all the time in real estate. For my Turo, I was like, look, I'm either going to sell this freaking car, or because I owned it in cash. It's a $32,000 Toyota Camry XSE 2018 V6. So I bought it cash. And so I'm like, okay, I'm either going to sell it or I'm going to put it on Turo. So I called one of my friends that is a huge guy on Turo. He has multiple cars that he has on Turo. So he's like a superstar host. I said, look, I'm going to give you my car. You run it on Turo. I don't want to know anything about it. I don't care. I was like, I don't have the mental bandwidth to deal with this. I was like, so you run this, name your rate. And he said 20%. I said, okay, 20%.
That's property management.
That's property management.
Airbnb property management.
That's arbitrage, baby.
And that's true passive income on your end because there's nothing to do.
Income. Yeah. Exactly. So I said, and he said, all right, man, what you want me to send you like the weekly numbers and you want me to send you everything? I said, Tashawn, I trust you. And this is so crazy because nobody else operates like this. But, I'm like, hey, I know, like, and trust you. And I know that you kill it on Turo and you have Teslas that you're leasing out and you're putting them and you're making profit and all this stuff. I was like, all I need from you is a monthly report. Send me the CSV that shows how it was rented and what the expenses are and what the payments are and what the profit is. I was like, then you take 20% and I don't need to audit it. I trust you, whatever. So that's what we're doing right now. So I'm excited to get that in exactly 2 days.
Oh, wow.
So it hasn't started yet.
No, but he already has texted me. He's like, we're going to be about 1,000, but that's going to be, we're going to break 20%. So then there's that. And then probably put aside about 20-30% for taxes. So
because you just started your trip like just a couple weeks ago this month.
July.
So
Exactly. So then on top of all that, what makes the most of my money is my podcast. My podcast, my baby, the love of my life, my child.
Tell us more about that. What about the podcast that's sustaining all that? What's so different about your podcast?
So for my podcast, I speak to a high income audience. So I speak to accredited investors for the most part, or high income W-2. So if you guys are listening to this show, you'd probably like mine as well. And so what we do is we have accredited investors, 7 to 10 figure millionaire entrepreneurs come on the show, and they share the mindsets, methods, and actionable steps that they took to earn their freedom. So when you have a show like that and you have people talking at a very high level, which is what I tell them, I say, hey, this isn't bigger pockets. Talk as high as you want. You can go as complex as you want. We can go down the rabbit hole. And they get super pumped. And so I've had freaking billionaires on there. It's awesome. And so what happens from that is, because I have people that are listening to the show that can afford the best of the best, then whenever I am hiring somebody, whenever I'm paying for something, then it's a very obvious affiliate relationship to have with that person or service that I can offer to the audience. So for instance, I'm a part of a mastermind group called GoBundance. It's $10,000 a year. I pay for it.
I know that group. They're still reaching out to me. I think Bigger Pockets, Brandon is part of that group, right? Anyway.
Brandon is the reason I started my podcast. He's a good friend of mine.
Yeah. Brandon, he's part of that. Yeah, go for it. Sorry.
Well, you need to join, man. I'm the guy. You got to pay for my trip, man. I get an affiliate percentage off of that. So
that's another passive income right there.
Exactly. And that's the power of network. So I make percentage off of that. And then I also had another one, a mindset coach, Jason Dries, who was the coach for Brandon Turner. I also hired him. I paid him. And then so affiliate relationship began with both of them. And then I started having people reach out constantly through my show and say, hey, I love what you're talking about. Sign me up for these services. And I'm like, okay. And that's how it started. And then I saw it happening and I was like, there's no way that this is producing money. But then all of a sudden, like 7 to 10 people are joining GoBundance. 7 to 10 people are joining Jason every single month. And I'm like, hold on a second. So then January, February, March hits. And I'm like, okay, I'm like popping out like 10, 15,000 a month off of this. I'm like, what? And then so I put that on top of my real estate. And then my cash flow goal was 20,000 through real estate to quit my job. And I was like, hold on a second. Through the podcast and all this stuff, I'm hitting it. I'm like, holy crap. What? And so in March 17th, I quit my corporate job and I gave up my salary. I gave up my bonuses. I gave up $30,000 in preferred options. And I booked a one-way ticket to travel around the world. So July 6th, I flew out and I lived in Greece for a month. And now I'm currently in Barcelona, Spain this is my first Friday. So I'm going to finish up this interview. I'm going to go have some tapas at a rooftop with my girlfriend, and we are going to go dance in Barcelona. So worth it.
Oh my goodness. That is an incredible, incredible story.
Yeah. And it's it can completely go up in flames too. It's pretty freaking awesome because I'm building in public. So this is all, you can't Google how do you quit your corporate job and travel around the world for 6 months to a year. Like it's not something that's people think about as possible. So now I'm like, if I can go out and I can figure this out and I can document everything and document what went wrong and what went right, I can just put it all out there. Then other people can look at this and say, this punk 27-year-old dude did it. I can do it. And so that's what fuels me. That's what's my passion. That's why I'm doing this on 7 o'clock on a Friday night. I love this.
Plus, you're in Barcelona. That's my favorite city. We got to be.
Yeah. You're not allowed to be upset in Barcelona.
That's very impressive. Like, really, before this podcast, I thought real estate was a thing. I was like, okay, another real estate guy. No, it was the podcast affiliation that got you into it. And you're just going up from there. How many episodes do you have on your podcast right now?
132. So let's talk about process, right? So before I started with an episode of show, so like what separates my show from other millions of shows that do this. So I started with one episode a week. It was an interview. And I was like, things were going good. It's a good show. I had good guests. Cool. Then I was so backlogged on people that wanted to come on the show that I started doing 2 episodes a week. And I was like, okay, cool. Like everyone's like, you think that people are going to have the bandwidth for that? I'm like, yeah, let's give it a shot. Started having 2 episodes a week, Tuesday, Thursday. Then I started doing a Monday episode because people were telling me, hey, you need your voice on the show. You need to stop highlighting everyone else and also highlight you and your story. And I had a limiting belief that nobody cared to hear my story, but that was wrong. So I started doing Monday shows. And then the Monday shows started taking off, little 5-10 minute episodes. And then I was like, okay, what the heck? I'll do a Friday show just for the heck of it. And then another 5-10 minute episode. And then that took off. And now all of a sudden I'm getting the same downloads for my 10-minute solo shows as I am for the hour-long interviews with billionaires. I was like, okay. So now I've got like this giant download spike and then a crater every Wednesday because I don't have a show coming out. And I'm like, okay, can't do that. And so I was like, how much effort is it going to take me to put a Wednesday episode out? 5 to 10 minutes. So I popped one out there. And here's my rationale behind it, right? So do I expect every single person to listen to every single episode? No, that'd be foolish. But what it does do is every time you open up that podcast app, I am right there at the top. Nobody else is. I'm the first thing you see every single morning. And you're going to look and not maybe that episode doesn't speak to you, but you can scroll through and say, oh, these are 2 episodes to me. I didn't even see those before. And Tim Ferriss has a rule about this to where he makes every single show he makes for 33% of his audience. He expects 66% of his audience to not like that every episode. So that's what I employ.
That's fantastic. No, thank you for sharing that.
So maybe I want to try it. And it's very simple. It's simple, like very actionable stuff, Action Academy. So I just it's quotes. It's quotes that I hear. It's books that I read. It's mental models, mindset shifts, stuff like that. So Friday's episode was we were walking in Barcelona and I have a guilt whenever I'm not working. I feel guilty because I'm just being idle and I'm used to working 16, 18 hours a day. And so my girlfriend told me, she's like, well, we go through seasons in our life. She's like, I read this book called The Buddha and the Badass. And she's like, you have seasons of navigation and you have seasons of acceleration. She's like, so you have periods of rest before you sprint. I was like, what a freaking quote. It was like, marry me, you know? And so I made a podcast episode on that. And that's the period I'm in right now. I just finished a sprint and now I'm in the period of rest where I'm trying to figure out what is the next thing. So that's me right now. So I'll stop rambling. I'll let y'all reel this back in. I don't even know where we're at.
No, I'm actually taking notes, and I'm kind of like you, not as young as you, but the way I go to a conference or I listen to a podcast is I always have a note beside me. Mm-hmm. And it's not just notes I'm taking, it's I'm thinking, so what am I going to do about this? What's the action plan? That's the things I'm putting down right now. So literally, like Aline just probably looking at me like, what are our notes doing? But I'm literally already thinking, okay, how are we going to, who's going to do this? Who's going to do that? Who do we need to talk to? And thanks for sharing that. I think that a lot of podcasts, just like you said, a lot of hosts make everyone shine, but a lot of people really come on to hear about the host and their journey too. So there's so many things that we can share as well. So Aline will definitely chat after the podcast about this, if you have bandwidth for it.
Why do you care about Brandon Turner? Why do you care that he moved to Hawaii? It's because you knew that he was in Oregon before. Mm-hmm. And you knew that he hated the weather and he was in the process of trying to buy his dream home in Hawaii. And we followed him every episode in the freaking intro for 2 to 3 minutes. It wasn't even the episode. And then he finally got his dream home in Hawaii and everyone knew about it and celebrated it because they were there. So whenever something happens to me, good or bad, I'm going to post it in an episode. I almost got sent to Greek prison on Saturday.
Oh my gosh.
So I posted an episode about that.
I have to go check that out now.
It wasn't anything bad. We got into a car accident and we didn't have our passports on us. So they were trying to take us to jail.
They
probably just want you guys to pay. That's all they're asking. They want money, probably.
So I did something better. I called up a person that I knew on the island that was also in GoBundance. He came through with a family full of Greeks and they started yelling in Greek on our behalf. So it's a giant Greek fight.
It's all about networking.
Get you out of jail too.
Yeah. And then the intro to this podcast will be, and then that's how I avoided Greek prison. Tune in for more. Thank you. Thank you, financial independence.
Love it. Love it. I didn't even know where we're at. Are we going to continue? But this was a lot of fun.
Here, I'll finish to wrap it up. I can finish it up with something that's like an actionable like framework for people. So I tell everybody that's on this journey, just to wrap it up so y'all know that we're not completely full of nonsense and just completely going off the rails here. So there's a 4-step framework that I use and I tell everybody whenever I'm talking about like the process of leaving and achieving financial independence and all this good stuff. So if you're in your W-2 listening to this will help. Step 1, establish your vivid vision. So you need to have something that pulls you towards something instead of running away from something. You can't just run away from your job. You need to have something that pulls you towards it. That's what will give you the confidence and the motivation to actually leave when things get hard. So that's the first thing. Second thing is you need to get your finances in order. You need to have your fixed expenses and your variable expenses. You need to know them like the back of your hand, and you need to get a budget in place. And you need to get your freaking financial house in order, because what this does is it establishes a baseline, a financial foundation. Step 3 is once you have your foundation, you can start taking calculated risks and you can start building businesses, starting that podcast. If you love making pottery, now you can start that pottery business because you have some cash flow in real estate and you have your W-2. This is still with your W-2. You do this on the side. Now, all of a sudden, you've got fixed income, you have variable income, and now you build your community. So then you spend all your time and effort looking for people that are both on the same path to financial independence as you are. So look at the community of this podcast. And then you're going to look for people that are already there. So people like me or people like other people that are where you want to be and have done it, and have those people which mentor you the finish line. And then you can create businesses with these people. You can create partnerships. That's 4 steps on how you can actually make this happen. And you don't need to travel the world. That's just my thing. That's my best and most exciting life. Your best and exciting life could be being there for every single one of your kids' volleyball practices or cheerleading practices or dance recitals. Figure out what your thing is and then use this to hit your financial freedom, do what you want, when you want, with who you want.
Perfect. And that goes right into our lightning round, or I guess our fire round.
Since you're talking about it, yeah, go for it.
Yeah. And so the question is, if you became a billionaire tomorrow with a B, what would your day look like? I don't know if it could be any different than what you have right now, but would it be any different?
No. It would be this. And there are periods where I struggle with what I'm doing because I'm not sitting in front of my computer generating revenue all day. And that's a problem for me sometimes with my monkey mind and my subconscious brain that's so hardwired for success and grind that this is all like a giant game of iteration and process for me. But I came up with this mental model the other day, and it's probably an episode I'm going to post too. But my new rule of thumb, because I'm spending way more than I normally would spend in the States, especially after Greece. I went to Mykonos, Santorini. I lived there for 2 weeks. And then I lived for 2 weeks in Crete. So 4 weeks in Greece is not cheap. And I came up with the realization that if I'm going to spend money, as long as it's something that I will remember 10 years later, it was worth it. So would I remember a car? Nah. Will I remember a house? Probably not. But will I remember going on a sunset cruise in Santorini that cost 300 euro? That's a little pricey. Should I have done it? You know, maybe not if I was on a budget. I had like €100 dinner with my girlfriend with like a singer, and it was over the cliffs of Santorini. And I rented a four-wheeler and I'm driving across the island with her, like stuff like that. I'm going to remember for the rest of my life. To answer your question, I would not think.
Yeah, no, that's what people are talking about a lot too, especially with the millennials and the younger generations. People are spending more on experiences, not on material items. It's the things that you're going to remember most in life, and that you can, the stories that you come out of it and the things that you actually experience, not just the material.
Yes. And I talk to multimillionaires every day of my life, 5 days a week. I talk to people that are 10, 50, $100 billion millionaires. And across the board, you have the guys that are spending their 20s, 30s, 40s to achieve all this material financial wealth. And every single one of them said that they would give up all, if not most, of their wealth just to be 20 years old or 30 years old again.
There's definitely a mentality change. Yeah, definitely a mentality change. I'm 31. I understand where you're coming from. And a lot of time we're a very fortunate generation too, because we kind of grow up with a roof on our head and have food. Our parents did the hard working, but in their generation, they're really fighting for survival a lot. So I have like friends, parents I think they're billionaires. They don't even know they own like hundreds of buildings across the world, but they're still work every day. They have no hobbies. The only hobby they have is working. But that's how they were trained, right? Like my mom's the same thing. There's a lot of scarcity mindset.
Yes.
We have the abundance to really grow up in the environment where it kind of creates a gap between the communication with the last generation too. And our next generation will probably be even more different now. Now everything they just want it now. They want to enjoy it now, right? So getting a good balance of that and know where you're at least. And and go from there will be very crucial. I'll say. I think
it's a marriage between the two generations, because I think the wrong question to ask is, how do I get enough passive income so I can lay on the beach and retire and do nothing? I think that's the wrong question. The right question to ask is, how can I get enough passive income so that I can generate massive amounts of passionate income, so that you can do work that inspires and fulfills you and motivates you and makes you excited. And then you can do it on a Friday night and it doesn't feel like work. Like this for me. This is fun. And now I get paid to do it. That's the goal, is figuring out what work, have it be work optional, and figure out, like, pick and choose what you want to do, because we're all meant to work. That's what we're here for. We're here to like create and build and move things and create things. And that's what we're here to do. And if you have the economic means to be financially independent, that means that you had the discipline to get there. So you're even less of that person that would just sit and do nothing, you know? So wrong question to ask.
Love it. And that leads us into our next question. So you're not a billionaire anymore, but you lose everything. Everything. No podcast, no nothing, but you know what you know right now.
God, so what I would probably I'll just give you the first answer that comes to my mind. And I don't know if it's the right answer or if it's a logical answer, but it's just the one that I would believe in. So what I would do, this is so stupid, or maybe it's not. I would take $100,000 in cash and I would say, okay, cool. There's my year. I'm going to live off of this $100,000. I'm going to make this last all year. And now I've got a year. And now I've got a year to build a freaking business and build it all over again and do everything I can, all of my time and energy and effort into building something that I'm super passionate about, build another podcast, build another media company. If I'm spending all of my waking hours doing that with my network, I can make it happen. The other 400 is going to go, I would probably throw it with 2 to 3 partners and go into a really juicy triple net lease commercial building. That's where the tenant covers everything. And I'll go with them. And it would be like a value add building to where we could refinance and pull all of our money right back out. So if I threw in 400,000 and another 1 or 2 people threw in another 100 or 200, we could get like an $8 million commercial building. That would be fun. That'd probably print out another $30,000, $40,000 a month.
I can see the wheels turning right now. I can see it. I see it right there.
Yeah, $500,000 you want to give me? I'll make you rich.
There you go. Brian still looking for sweat equity.
Well, yeah, because then we get our money back. Money doesn't even really exist. It's just energy. So you can just recycle it over and over and over again.
Yeah. And as we go into kind of like a downturn of the market, a lot of good fund managers actually emerge from this kind of stage. They work extra hard. Among my community, they work extra hard right now because this is when they work super hard and they can really lay back for the next 8 to 10 years for the next market cycle. And as the market kept going up, usually it doesn't never come back down, right? So this is where you work hard, not when the market is going up. Okay. When you're facing the seller's market. I love it.
Absolutely.
So,
and I'm sitting on cash right now. I'm waiting. I'm ready.
So anybody out there listening, contact Brian. Connect with Brian. So Brian, you are a podcast host yourself. Is there anybody that you haven't had on your podcast yet that you would like to interview? If you could interview anybody in the world, if there was one person that you could pick to come onto your podcast, who would that be?
I literally have a list. I could name off the 100 people that I'm actively working on.
Your dream 100?
Yeah, my dream one. Yeah, exactly. I have a dream 100 for Instagram, Twitter, newsletter, and podcast. So I've dream 400. Right now, I would really like Alex Hormozy. Really like Alex Hormozy. I love what he's doing. I love the $100 million offer framework. And I would want to pick his brain in some different angles than all the podcasts he's been going on right now, because that dude's just no nonsense. And I think I could put his brain in a twister and really make it something fun. And I'm working on it. I'm hitting his team from every angle. I'm going to find a way to get him on the podcast. I'll figure it out.
If I get him before you get him, I'll share it with you.
That's I appreciate that, man.
That's what I'm working on.
That. I'll give you the biggest 5-star rating and review. I'll be like, well, there we go. Friends celebrate friends.
Yeah, I'm actually reading his $100 million offer book, and it's the 3rd time. I'm going through an audiobook when I'm walking the dog. I'm going through it. I'm an audiobook guy, and I have a PDF, and I take notes and all that. And I didn't know I was using a lot of it. But there's a lot more to learn, right? And I was bootstrapping things, but now he kind of lay it out backwards. So
here's, I'll give y'all a sneak peek of what I'm doing next, because I don't care about real estate's fun and but that's not my passion. My passion is my podcast. And so I'm going to create my podcast into a media company. So to have recurring revenue, affiliate partnerships can't count as recurring revenue unless they're fixed for a year and they're not variable. So I want recurring revenue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to probably Q4 release courses, coaching, mastermind, all around this ecosystem that I've got right now and doing what I'm doing. And at that point, I'll have done so much iteration with my process and what I'm doing while I'm traveling that I'll have it locked down. I can be like, okay, this is what works. This is what doesn't. Here's like step by step what you need to do. And then so that's probably going to be my goal, is to generate enough revenue to pay for the entire trip, which I think I'll do.
Sounds like you probably want to learn stock option.
Oh God.
Again, I do have a mastermind for it, but hey, again, it's not for everyone. It was, but it's for people who doesn't want a second job and who already have a nest egg and, already invest in real estate or really just want to buy their time back. Anyway, I'm not going to pitch anything on this. There's most of my clients are real estate investors and 7, 8, 9-figure net worth people. Not 9-figure, they just want you to do it. So that's where my fund is going to come up for. But a lot of people just want to try it out, right? So it's very exciting to hear your next step. And definitely a lot of people don't understand is the opportunity cost of things, right? And there will be people understand the opportunity cost of time and money, and they will be willing to pay for someone to show them the way so they can shorten that and not make mistakes. And mistakes could be very costly in terms of time or money, right? So it's definitely
all I do
for that, right?
That's all I do now. I just hired coaches, mentors. I won't learn to do something on my own anymore. I'm past that because I've seen the other side now. I used to avidly be like, oh, I'll learn it on YouTube for free, but
there's always too much content by enough context. And you can make one mistake, you're gone. Right?
Exactly.
And then you're able to shorten your time frame also.
Yes. Coaching and mastermind is literally the process of buying your time back. That's it. Because you can figure it out. We're smart, figure it out 4 or 5 years. But if you have a guy that's already done it, he can teach you how to do it in like 4 or 5 weeks. I had a podcast coach when I first started, paid like $5,000, got a podcast coach. And then he was like, hey, here's an affiliate model that's possible. I said, whoa. Look at that.
Yeah. If there's another one, the Entrepreneur on Fire, if you want to look into that study.
John Lee Dumas.
Yeah. John Lee Dumas has another good affiliate.
Working on him.
Good. Next question is, what are other ways that you're giving back?
That's a great question. So in GoBundance, we have different pillars, and contributions, my lowest pillar, monetarily at least. So I've been trying to give back to charity more, but I found that my time is a little bit of a better way right now. So I've been coaching a couple people for free and doing, honestly, the show. That was a mindset shift that occurred to me because some of my friends were like, dude, information we've gotten from your show has completely changed our business, or completely got me to create another business or another investment vehicle. He's like, so what you're doing there is really providing value. And so whenever I do these little 5-10 minute episodes and I send them out to a couple thousand people, I'm like, hey, this is all free. I'm not charging for any of this. So that's what I'm currently doing for contribution. I'll probably do some fun stuff when it comes time for the holidays. I'll probably do that, feeding a couple 100 families or something like that. I want to do something like that this year, but I'm actively working on it. That's something I need to improve on.
Internationally, that would be cool.
That would be cool. I'll probably be back in January or February, but yeah, internationally for Christmas, that'd be pretty cool.
Awesome. Well, Brian, this has been so much fun having this conversation with you. I mean, I'm going to definitely continue following your journey to see where you are, especially where you're going to other countries that you have planned out to visit for the rest of the year. And then by the end of this, we should have you back on the show to say what you learned, favorite places, what you've been able to build out within the year that you've been traveling, and just been able to focus and just really deep dive into what you're doing and creating, other streams of incomes for yourself, building out the life that you choose and design. And so we're so grateful that you've been on the show today.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And yeah, it's very difficult to do all of that when you're traveling with a significant other. I'll say that. Lesson number 1. It's very difficult. You have to do a lot of compromise and different work schedules, stuff like that. So we will have some time where we're doing some solo trips as well. That was part of the arrangement. I was like, hey, look, I love you, but I need I need a month or 2, just me out in the wilderness, coming up and just planning and working. That's what I'm going to do. So it'll be fun.
So, Brian, where's the best place that our listeners can reach out, find out more about you, follow your journey?
So I would say check out the Action Academy podcast. So that's on every single platform everywhere, 5 episodes a week. That's definitely going to be up y'all's alley because we're talking like the people that are listening to this right now. What's up, guys? Like, you are my people and I'm your people. So that'll be awesome. Also, you can go on to my website, w2toworldtravel.com. And that's going to give you a 30-page free guide that walks through every single step that I took in detail. And it's going to have case studies, financial case studies, and everything step by step, breaking down what different options you can take to be able to leave that W-2 and figure out what your dream life looks like. So w2toworldtravel.com.
So everyone knows where to find you now. Again, I'm very excited. Here another 27 years old. That's my girlfriend's age, and there's a mindset change, and I'm very excited to see that. And definitely, like at least I will like you to get back here in a year and tell us more about it. So yeah, it's definitely a pleasure. Thanks for your time.
I appreciate it. I'm very excited, and like, yeah, at the end of the day, we've all got such a huge time horizon, so it's so cool to be able to like have all of us, even 31, like it's young. We're so young. And I know friends that are 23 that are worth like 5-10 million. It's ridiculous. So let's go do big things and build a life you don't need a vacation from. Thanks for having me, guys.
All the links mentioned in this episode are included in the show notes. And if you love this episode, please leave us a rating and review on Apple iTunes. The link is also included in the show notes. And we would really appreciate your help in spreading the word to more high income earners on how they too can maximize both their time and money.
Also, if you still haven't joined our High Income Earners Facebook group, you are missing out on High Income Earners community where we help each other reach our own version of FIRE.